Hey, y'all, welcome back. This is episode 1, season 2. Holy crap, we've made it a full year. Hopefully, you guys listened into last week's long episode of me leaving and Kevin and Andrew giving me crap for my little picture that popped up on the screen while I was gone. But this week to start
it's a very
off,
funny photo. I love it.
it is a funny photo. It was hysterical. You guys are jerks. To start off this new season, we are bringing back a former classmate of ours and one of our good friends, Howard Ticker. Howard, say hi to everybody.
What's up, everyone? And it's a pleasure to be on a premiere episode of
season premiere.
Yeah, buddy.
That news broken to me, so
so
that. Awesome.
Little backstory: everyone. Howard went to West Virginia with Kevin and I. I believe Howard and Kevin graduated in 2012. I graduated the year after them. Howard and I used to work together, years ago, for the same organization, and been friends since. And we bumped into him 2 months ago and then found out that Howard stayed up a little late after that game. Had a little fun. We went back to the hotel room, dude, and we were all so upset and so mad that we just passed out. Like, it was that kind of game.
I would have thought the entire stadium, all 70,000 of those people, would have went straight to that casino, and it looked like it. It felt like it. That's for sure. So,
dude,
but it was a good time.
Dude, there was when we left, Leland sat somewhere else besides where Kevin and I and Andrew were. I kid you not, if you walk down the river and up over the bridge, there was thousands of people going that way. A majority of them were going to the hotel we were staying at. It was crazy.
Yeah. Awesome game. I'm bummed I couldn't see Leland. I called him at one point. He said he was already in the stadium. It was like right after I met up with you guys. So, yeah. But he and I have a tradition, actually. Every single West Virginia game, we'll buy a round and we'll just trade off. So I don't remember whose turn it is. I couldn't tell you, but because it's been so long since COVID. But I miss that dude. He's an awesome guy. He's always got a great tailgate as well going on. So
yeah, it was a good tailgate.
Yeah.
Hopefully next year you'll be there for the Backyard Brawl 2.0 in Morgantown.
That's the plan. That is the plan. I got to get to some road games as well. We'll see what that shakes out to be, but I'm pumped for Houston and Cincy to come in too. Those are two opponents I'd like to see either on the road or at home.
Cincy would be fun. Their stadium's just kind of odd. I've been there.
That might be a one. Yeah. That might be one that would be cool to watch in Morgantown, but I mean, to go to Houston, against, with Dana there, that'd be pretty sweet. But the homecoming also would be interesting as well. So we'll see.
If Dana's still there after this year.
Also fair.
Who knows? Yeah, who knows?
Oh, shoot. I literally forgot to take out something on the sheet, and I almost said the producer's here with us too, but he's not. He's off doing college stuff tonight. Jesus Christ. All right. So here's the start of the weekly sports update, and this is more of a conversation and open question to everybody. It is we're going into week 6 of the NFL season, correct? The Denver Broncos are 1-4 or 2-3. Russell Wilson can't see an open receiver past, his O-line. Is he honestly this bad, or did Seattle literally make him just look that good? What is going on? And I'm going to open this up to discussion between everybody. So have at it. All right. So
I was going to say, I think it might be head coaching more so than anything right now. He also definitely is afraid to run. I don't know what happened to that. That was what made him so good, I thought, is using his legs. I don't know if it's getting older or whatnot, but I'm not completely off the Russell Wilson train, but it ain't looking pretty, especially with how much more money he's making over. I don't know how many years it is, but we will see. We will definitely see where that thing goes. So, but it ain't looking good for their head coach right now. That's for sure. Nathaniel Hackett, I think, is his name, right? The guy from the Packers.
Yeah. Is he? It's his first year or second year?
First year, yeah.
First year, yeah. What do you think, Kevin?
So they're 2-3 right now. I just was looking for their standings, but I definitely think I'm with Howard. I'm not completely sold that he's a terrible quarterback. I think just right now he is, for whatever reason, hesitant to be the Russell Wilson of old in Seattle. And I don't whether that's the coaching decision, whether that's his decision. I am just curious to see how this shakes out because let's be real. The last game that the Broncos played, that was on him that they lost. That horrible Thursday night game. Like, I honestly, whoever has Amazon Prime, they should all have a free subscription after that game because of how terrible that was. If you watch the whole thing,
I didn't
I
watch
mean,
any of it and saw the highlights, and all the highlights they showed was fans leaving the stadium with 10 minutes left in the game.
yeah, it's rough. I mean, you know what? I tried to tune in because I have Russell Wilson on my fantasy team along with Cortland Sutton, and I would continuously see if you guys have ESPN for your fantasy updates. Oh, Russell Wilson's in the end zone. Russell Wilson in the end zone. I'm like, all right, cool. So he is going to do something. And then he does nothing. So, I hope he can figure it out. But definitely know last game was on him and he's got to show something different. But I keep hearing he's like questionable for like his shoulder. I
Yeah,
don't know if that's true or not, but
they said he has a shoulder injury he got during the Raiders game, and that's why he's been so off. But that's doesn't explain the first 3 weeks, or first 4 weeks, whatever it is. So I don't know. It's been pretty bad, but Gino has looked pretty damn good up in Seattle. That kid, they might be 2-3, but Gino is slinging it like he is back in West Virginia with Tavon and Stedman, which I love to see.
yeah, he's been launching it. And yeah, Seattle's defense is like Swiss cheese right now because they can't stop anybody. But shout out to Gino for at least making it competitive. He's getting the ball to the right people. And, shout out to Pete Carroll for believing in him.
He's definitely, I mean, it's crazy he's still in the league. He's hung around and he got his moment, which is kudos to him for that. That's big time. But yeah, he is looking like how he was at West Virginia, which was great. And I see that Jets jersey from Kevin. It just gets me upset that it didn't work out for us when we drafted him, whenever that was. But good on him. Clearly something's working and it clicked, and he can sit back and learn for a couple of years and take advantage of that because they got weapons. Seahawks definitely have some weapons at wide receiver. So I don't know what their O-line situation is, but they're making some noise. So hopefully they can sustain that throughout the year for sure. But hey, to your initial point, it could be the system for all we know. If Russell Wilson does completely fall off, maybe that's more of Pete Carroll's system than anything else. But we'll see how it goes. Still early though.
Yeah, we still got 12 more games to go. So we'll see at the end of the year where they rank. But I think I'll give Seattle the nod. That division, everyone's 3-2, 2-3 right now. It's up in the air. And if Seattle can figure out that defense and figure out a secondary running back, I put them.
So yeah, right now that NFC West, you have San Francisco 49ers, they're 3-2. The Rams, Cardinals, and Seahawks all 2-3.
And the Rams have one of the worst point differentials too. They're negative like 36 points. Their losses are bad.
They're unwatchable, man. I've watched 2 of their games and it's just no offense.
The NFL this year is probably one of the worst years I've watched. There's been good games and then there's been really bad games. Like Kevin, you mentioned last week's Thursday night game. This week's Thursday night game is the Bears and the Commanders. Still weird to say that name. I want to call him the other one, but I won't say it on the show. Neither team can throw the ball. It's just going to be horrible to watch. So I'll watch the West Virginia game and hopefully there won't be a blowout, which is fine.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's the fact that the preseason's now non-existent, where none of these dudes play like any snaps, and like week one is just like their first real game of having actual contact. Because week one was sloppy across the board, So I think that's part of it, and maybe it's like more of like rest management becoming a thing, which a lot of people have been speculating with the seasons extending. That like people are just going to start like not playing their best players during certain games if you play a team that is like a win. So I feel like we're getting to that point in the NFL for sure, where it's like there is going to be some games where teams just mail it in and think that they can take care of business against like a not so good team. I'm not going to throw any teams under the bus, but we all know the usual suspects, the Jets, my Jets being one of them typically, where you can be like, all right, let's bench some players and
Well, your Jets are better than my Patriots right now. So yeah.
You just brought an interesting question. I know this is not on the agenda, but Howard, this is how we work. Do you guys feel that the preseason should have stayed at 4 games, or are you happy with the 3? What are your thoughts on that? Because you brought up an interesting point there.
I wish there was 4 still, because your first game is the starters get a series, maybe 2. The second game, they play the first quarter, maybe half that quarter, whatever it is, depending on the coaching style. Your third game is what they always called as the dress up game.
Yep.
You're playing the whole first half, and then you're going to sit the second half. And then the fourth game, you don't play. That's really that's the final roster cuts. I think you lose that whole evaluation. And now the coaching staff has to figure out, well, shit, we've got to have our starters play somewhere, but we have to see all these rookies play and all these new guys come in. It's tough. Everyone should play that first weekend when they have the Hall of Fame game. Everyone should play that same weekend and not have it of 10 days apart. So that's my thought. Howard?
Yeah, I'm with you, but if that also means I think we should go back down to 16 games, that was a direct correlation to adding a game, and that's why I always liked football so much more than any of the other sports. Less is more. I get it, more games is awesome, but like in this case, if it starts hurting the sport, and we're already, I think, seeing that in a way where more injuries and all that type of thing, or more rest and those types of consequences, like we should keep it at 16. So I that was a direct correlation, I think, and that was why they did that. But yeah, I know they're already talking about going to 18 games now, and I'm just like, what are we doing? So but yeah, I agree with you. I think the 4 made a lot of sense if it means we go back down to 16 though. So
Kevin, what are your thoughts?
I think so for me, I'm looking at it from someone that works in the stadium. So those extra preseason games, to be truthfully told, it makes no money for the NFL teams, to be open, because nobody wants, depending on who it. So I work at MetLife. Depending on who is that final game, it's just normally on like a Thursday night in the middle of August. Nobody's going to go to those because, number one, all the fans know they're not seeing any of the stars play. It's technically a waste of money, which I understand why they turn that fourth preseason game to a regular season game to be a money gouger, in a sense, to make up for losing some of that money. But definitely, I'm on board if it's supposed to be 4 and you keep it at 16. Just because I don't think they should be going any further than like the first week of January. In some of the places you're talking, it's just way too cold. You have the higher risk of losing that game anyway because of possible snow out or whatever. Because think about a place like MetLife Stadium or anybody on the Northeast, those places don't have domes. So yes, that's the quote unquote competitive advantage. But now what happens if it snows too much and you can't have that game? Now you've lost the game. And what if, especially with the year that both New York teams are having, I'm just using them as an example, and maybe they need that one game to play because they needed to possibly qualify for the playoffs, then it snows out. What do you do if you're the NFL? Now you just lost the game. but you're just gonna randomly throw that game into like a random stadium. It's not gonna work. But I definitely there's the pros and then there's the cons. So I definitely feel like there is a way to balance it out. Is this the first or second year of the pre-3 season? Second year. All right. So I'd say maybe 2 more years of checking how this is looking like. If they keep noticing people are keep getting injured, then maybe they have something different in the next collective bargaining agreement. But I'm with you guys.
I love the 16. The 16 was great because it was like cut and dry. Here's who's in, here's who's out. It's not this 17 game season where you're like, who's in, who's out. You have no idea until literally the last week of the season. Like,
yeah, I mean, we don't want 9 and 8 teams in the playoffs, like even the 9 and 7 looked ugly, like I definitely am a big fan of the less is more aspect in the NFL. So, and player safety too, like is massive. I'm not just saying that because the industry I'm in, like, again, we want the best players and the best games down the stretch, right? And like, if you get it playing a meaningless snow game, like you said, Kevin, and someone trips up and, turns an ankle and they miss the playoffs, like that's going to hurt the ratings as well. But I know all that stuff's based, they're all those decisions they're making is really based off money, like you said. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will. Talking about NFL here. Matt Rule is no longer the Carolina Panthers head coach. He was let go, I think Monday was his final day. I would love his job and love a fired NFL head coach's job because they get paid a lot of money to go sit at home. He's getting paid $834,000 a month for the next, I think it was 2 years or something, to do nothing.
Shout out to him.
I'll take that. I'll take that all day. That's awesome.
You give me $850,000 today, you'll never see me again. I'll live off that. Like, I'll give that to me one time. I'm good. I'll go to some island and I'll be all right. That's all.
We'll never hear from Howard Ticker ever again. It's just like he never existed. But it's the funny part is like, so they make the change, right? Probably a good decision for Carolina. It was probably a bad hiring decision to bring somebody that came from, no offense, Temple's not a good football program, went to Baylor, turned Baylor around, revamped Baylor, and left it a high instead of showing that he could stay consistent. Showing he can stay consistent is probably what should bring you to the NFL, but we saw Chip Kelly do it and it didn't succeed. Now the rumor is, and what all the West Virginia fans are saying, how about we bring Matt Rule in to West Virginia? I want to get your thoughts on this because I'm not on board with bringing him in as our next head coach because I still think Neil Brown won't be our head coach after this year, but I don't believe that Matt Rule is the solution.
No, he's not the solution because if anybody remembers Baylor, literally the minute he skedaddled, all of those crazy sanctions happened from Baylor. So I don't know if he would be a great fit here. Definitely. And I'm sure we'll go into this tangent about WVU and the coaching and whatever at some point, but I don't think we should have any part of him. Let him live his good life for a little bit. Maybe he jumps on somewhere else as a coordinator back into college and goes to like another school. But I, in my personal opinion, want no part of him. What do you think, Howard?
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him. From all I've ever heard from people, I actually knew someone that played for him at Temple. He was a big culture builder guy. So I do think it would make sense for him to go to either a team or a college where, they're picking up a program kind of from scratch and rebuilding it. And you got to give them 3 to 4 years. I think, yeah, to the point you mentioned earlier about the NFL too, it's just a different beast. And you don't have 3 to 4 years to build something.
Yep.
It's such a short leash in the NFL. So they gave him a 7-year contract too, which is unheard of as well. You normally see coach contracts 4 or 5 years to start. So, yeah, I've only heard good things. I mean, I'm sure he'll find something pretty quickly, at least in college as well. But that sounds like that's his niche for sure. Come in there and build up a program here 3-4 years and see where it goes. So But I'm still a Neil Brown guy. I'm not giving up on him yet. I know I'm probably one of the last people standing in that regard at West.
No, Howard.
Kevin's still on board.
I have been with you on this because I look at it this way. So number one, I would like to, whatever I say before anybody flames me, but I need to see something this Thursday. There's got to be some sort of fire lit under them. It's a Thursday night game again. I don't remember the last time we've had this many Thursday night games ever. Since all of us were in school. So,
I still don't remember this many Thursday night games when we were in school. I think maybe there was one every year.
Yeah, you might be right about that, Merritt. I think so. Like one.
Yeah, we always had the SC. I remember we had like Auburn on an SC, like on a Thursday one time. And
yes.
Was LSU a Thursday night game?
No, LSU was Saturday.
Was it Saturday? Okay, I can't remember.
Well, no, actually I lied. So Saturday in Morgantown when me and Howard were seniors, that was
I was a senior.
Saturday night.
I was just a super senior the next year.
Super senior.
I took a lippery lap.
I keep forgetting.
Victory lap, rather.
So we had LSU Saturday, and I believe we had LSU when they were in LSU on like a Friday.
That was a horrible game. I remember watching that.
Yeah, because it rained like terribly.
That was also the stupid snap to Gino, even though he wasn't behind center.
Ooh, wow, you remember all the way back.
Yeah,
shout out to your memory.
I remember that play, like watching it going, what? How did we just do that? How did we snap the ball without a quarterback under? Okay, great. This is going to be how the game goes, and it was a bad game. Yeah.
But like I was saying, I think so I brought up the point a couple weeks back, Howard. So everyone is completely blowing up like the secondary, how like they're horrible, they're terrible, it's the worst. And I remember they're saying that it's almost just as bad as that 2012 year when we first were in the Big 12. And that year consisted of guys like KJ Dillon, Carl Joseph, Terrell Chestnut. You had Rasul Douglas later on in that backfield. But those guys, yes, it was horrible the first year, but if those guys are staying like those guys did, that back half, that secondary was probably the best secondary we've ever had in the last decade.
Yeah.
So I am hopeful in the sense of guys like the Andrew Wilson Lamps, the Ja'Cory Spells, those younger guys that they have, if they can continue to develop, we'll be able to compete and they'll be able to hang in that backfield. It's just a matter of us playing them and getting them in the right positions and for them to succeed. I know we put in a lot of our recruiting into that secondary with the guy from Colorado State, Ajayi, the guy from junior college. I think there was another guy from like James Madison that we got. But, some of them are only going to be here for 1 year. And I don't think that they have like panned out. I almost compare them almost to the sense of not this current crop, but the last year's crop of like recruits that West Virginia basketball had, where I just don't think they're used to the level of competition to play against. Yep. So if they can figure that out, I think we're going to be all right because JT Daniels is amazing. I think our offensive line is probably
amazing.
Is one of the strongest I've seen in the last 5 years. The receivers just need to catch the ball instead of those drops. But I think, we can compete. And if you take away the Texas game, we were right in there with Pittsburgh. Kansas.
Don't talk about that game. Don't talk about that one.
For some reason, we couldn't stop the triple option. We technically could be on the other side of this and be like 3-2.
Couple bounces away. Yeah.
We could be 4-1, really.
Yeah.
My biggest reason on Brown, keep in mind when Dana left, weird time as well after the recruiting cycle. So we hired a coach after all those processes, I didn't talk to one West Virginia fan that thought we were going to win more than 3 games Neil Brown's first year with how little he had left with the team. And he over exceeded expectations year one. And then COVID hits, which everything's a shoot. No fan base, no fans coming out to games being canceled left and right. You don't know who's going to play because contract tracing, all that stuff. And then all of a sudden we get back from COVID, and then now there's NIL where all of our best players are getting scooped up by Miami's and whatnot. So going back to stressing patience, we definitely, I think he's earned the right to get at least another year or two to just kind of see where Daniels can take us, those other 2 kids that he's recruited at quarterback as well. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. But no, I'm still, and I'm a weird fan when it comes to sports. Like I like watch press conferences of coaches. I feel like you can learn pretty quickly if they're good or not.
Thank you. Because I do the same thing.
Yeah.
I listen to Neil Brown's press conference every year.
Yep.
After every loss or win. I watch the one on Tuesdays. And for me, I think his attitude is that he's saying the right things. In my opinion, he's owning the losses that we've gotten, and when it comes down to it, he's speaking to what we need. Like, he knows that the fan base is angry. I'm sure he feels it. So
he definitely feels it.
Yeah. So I just think, and Howard, you made that great point. Year one, he was left with nothing, literally nothing. And I think that year, did they win a bowl game that year?
I think they were 6-5 or 7-6 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and then they won. I think they did win the bowl game.
It was either they won their last regular season game, and then the next year they won a bowl game or something like that. But I think I am trying to be as optimistic of a fan as there can be. I don't think we need to be shelling out $16 million right away to get a new person, because again, I listen to, I don't know if you do, Howard, I listen to some of the 24/7 sports podcasts like Country Roads Confidential, and they talk about this is a very precarious position that West Virginia has been in, because we've never really had a true coaching search before. So when Dana left us a couple years back, Neil Brown was hired within the next week, 3 to 4 days after.
Yeah.
When Rich Rod left us, they put Bill Stewart right in. And then before Rich Rod, I forgot who was before Rich Rod, forgive me, but he was an easy slot in after that. So we've never really had a true coaching search like this before, at least in our lifetime. So It's just definitely, it's not a position we really want to be in. So I'm trying to, unless we really just give up the end of this season, I am trying to be as optimistic as possible with our team.
Yeah.
And take it from there.
If there was a change, which again, I don't want there to be, who would you guys ideally want? Who would be at the top of your list? One name I think I would be high on would be Tony Gibson at NC State. Bring him back, a disciplined defensive coordinator type of guy. That's a West Virginia guy through and through. Been 2 different coaching stints.
Yeah.
Ideally, I think head coaching experience should probably be the top of what we'd be looking for on a resume, though. Do you want Power 5? I don't think I would like someone with Power 5 experience, but Gibson would be an interesting name to me. But again,
Merritt, did you have a whole list of people a couple weeks back?
But there was, but I was on my phone, and I don't think I have it anymore. It's on the other sheet, and I don't feel like digging through the other sheet because that's pretty long.
So a couple of the ones I remember, so they talked about, the guy from Appalachian State. He's a Charleston native. So it's a fun name to hear, but at the same time, I just don't. That's technically, in my opinion, another Neil Brown, because he doesn't have the Power 5 experience.
Jimbo Fisher was another name.
I heard about Jimbo Fisher. He's a West Virginia guy. Yep. I just don't think that he's ready to leave the SEC just yet. I think he likes it over there.
That might not be up to him because his team has been underperforming and having a very, very good recruiting class year over year and underperforming. Not a good look in Aggie land.
Yeah, and with all the money they, as Saban might have said, possibly have
Give it out. Yeah.
given out money for recruits. But with that, as fun as that name sounds, yes, West Virginia guy. I just don't. I don't see that as something that I would be super, super excited to be about. I think like the older generation might be, but yes, Jimbo Fisher is great. I just think he's not the name that I would want us to gravitate towards. Like Tony Gibson is a great name Howard, that you said, with his experience. And the last time our defense was really good was when he was here. But at the same time, a head coach is a whole nother story.
Right.
And, like Neil Brown realized it year 3, like he can't be the same guy where he was at Troy, calling the plays and being head coach for, Division I Power 5. You're more of like the CEO of everything.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what he realized this year was that he had to take that step back. So that's why they hired their new offensive coordinator. And
another name I've heard people want.
Yeah, but he hasn't proven anything yet. Like,
yeah, fair. That's
like,
also fair.
I think he's.
But I also think
offensive mind, which is amazing. His offensive mindset is amazing, and he's had 2 of the best high school recruits come to USC, and we watched both of them light it up during the Pitt game against each other. And I'd love to see what he does, but not yet. I don't want another Bill Stewart, Dana Holgerson situation where, you just put your new head coach in waiting and then just fire the other one, right before the season starts. Like that, we don't need that type of thing to happen again. I'll give it this. Like if Neil can win minimum 5 games this year, somehow can pull off wins, then I say his seat gets a little less hot. But if he comes into next year and it's the same thing where it's, bad outcomes, not winning games you should, not playing as, aggressively, they had a couple of plays like later on in the season where it was like 4th and 1 and we're going for it. I'm going, it was 4th and this many inches against Pitt and we didn't go for it, but we're going for it in this game. I think if he can turn those decisions around and maybe excel next year, all right, I'll keep him around a little bit longer. But I think his leash, like Howard said, at NFL, you have a short leash. I think his leash has gotten much shorter than what it was last year.
I'll say this: he goes for it on 4th and 1 against Pitt. We're not even having this conversation right now.
Heck no.
We win.
Oh yeah.
We win.
Oh yeah. I agree. We would be talking about something completely different if he went for it on 4th and 1 in that game. Honestly, that still hurts because of the fact that we were all there, and had to witness that in person.
Yeah. All of us, just every West Virginia fan collectively going, why didn't you give it to the new kid, number 12? Just, he's been running through this defensive line. Like, let him have it. And that's the one player that, yes, we need a quarterback and everything, but we haven't had a super strong running back. Like Letty was a very good running back, but we haven't had this type of running back in a long time. That's just a powerhouse.
He's so good.
He's so big. I don't think we've ever had anybody bigger than 6 feet be a running back in our time. Can any of you guys think of anybody?
Everyone was small. Everyone was short. Like they were under 6 foot.
I think the biggest I remember we've had is probably either 5'11" or 6 feet.
Sean Alston was big, but he wasn't big. He was just
big.
Yes. he was the runaway beer truck 2.0.
Yeah.
I loved watching him play. Let's keep going here. Nike signed NIL deals to Bronny James. What a coincidence there. I can't remember the
Don't
girl
forget
from.
the other four. I actually
know.
have them up.
Do you have the names? Can you? Because it's
I
two high
do.
school students and then two women's basketball players.
Yes. So you have Ronnie James from Sierra Canyon, Caitlin Clark from the University of Iowa, who's probably going to be the top pick in the WNBA draft whenever she's available. She is literally a bucket. DJ Wagner from Camden High School, Haley Jones from Stanford University, and Juju Watkins from Sierra Canyon High School as well. So very interesting to see the NI deals happen. I think I'm looking at the common theme from all four of these. Sierra Canyon is a Nike sponsored school with the same thing as University of Iowa and Stanford. So that's pretty exciting to see them showing some love and giving some NIL deals. I couldn't, there wasn't any specifics on what these deals entailed, but that's really cool. I'm excited for them. I think, we all kind of knew that first name, Ronnie James. Can you imagine him being in something else other than Nike? I just don't think he might get disowned from his family if he would ever do that.
I'm pretty sure when he's going on college visits, he's only going to Nike schools. He's not going to Adidas or Under Armour schools to look at universities for basketball. No point.
and notice, and I guess they only gave 5, so I guess they want to keep it small right now. But which I think is probably smart on their end. But I think it's a great crop. I don't know too much about the ones that are in high school. Camden High School, if that's from Camden, New Jersey High School, go to New Jersey. But I do know Caitlin Clark, pure bucket, absolutely killer from behind the arc. She's the one that always keeps Iowa for the last couple of years like tournament relevant and keeps them going to at least Sweet 16, Elite Eights every year. And I don't know too much about Haley Jones, unfortunately. I'm sorry, but I Stanford has always been
a powerhouse women's basketball program.
Yeah,
100%. I think these are great deals. It keeps that keeps the James name with Nike. I'm sure his next son will get an NIL deal when he's old enough, because I think you have to be 18 at like a specific age range for it to get the deals. I don't think you can go any lower than 18. So
I'm not sure. I think you might be right on that.
It's kind of be weird to pay a 14-year-old like millions and millions of dollars to wear sneakers and endorse something that might be a little bit of an NCAA violation there, but we don't know. And then the biggest news that came out right before we jumped on this was Draymond Green is back with the Warriors. So he has returned to the team after taking probably 3 or 4 days off after the whole Jordan Poole incident, which I think we've all seen at this point. I wish there was the audio with that so we know exactly what was being said between the two of them. And Jordan Poole fell down real quick. He just crumbled. It was bad. Like, holy crap.
Well, let's be real for a second. I think these fights probably always happen in an NBA practice. I think just the fact that literally some idiot decided to lose his job and goes ahead and I guess maybe was bored and film what happened. That's what I think made this whole thing such a fiasco. Yes, that fist that he threw at Jordan Poole, pretty scary, but these things up, and you saw a lot of the feedback from NBA players. These things happen a lot more than people realize.
Mm-hmm. Smart gets into it all the time.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that somebody thought it'd be cute to put a camera to it and display it to the media for whatever reason. I'm happy that they hammered everything out. Draymond realized what he did at the time was foolish, but at the same time, I think one of the things we have to realize is some of this type of shit happens, and it's unfortunate, but some of those matters is they got to keep him behind doors. Got to keep him behind doors.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen it and playing basketball growing up and whatnot too. I can't imagine, with a lot more on the line, how heated things can get, So, to your point, Kevin, I think it's, again, if it wasn't also Draymond Green, where a lot of people typically like to trash all the time and hate on, he knows his role. He knows what he does better than anyone, I think, in the NBA in terms of he's the instigator and he's really, really good at it and can obviously defend incredibly well and do a lot of great things for them. So I think that's part of the reason why it's a lot bigger than it is as well, is that the name Draymond Green was attached to the story as well. But I didn't see he wasn't getting suspended for it. I bet that's probably because the first game of the season, they're all getting championship rings and they want him there for it. That's my logical thought on the process. But tough scene that it got out. And to the point of it getting out, we don't even know if that's been clipped at all too. Like if it just was him randomly punching, or was there an actual, did he get in his Draymond's face at some point? We actually have no idea. This whole thing could have been clipped by some dude that was, or girl that was recording it at practice and putting out whatever story that they wanted. So
yeah, that's true. I 100% would agree with Howard though. Is like, if this wasn't Draymond Green, say this was like Peyton Pritchard from the Celtics getting into a fight with somebody on the team, no one would bat an eye. No one would say a word. But because it's Draymond, it's going to blow up. It's like if Shaq and Kobe, like during a practice, decided to kill each other, it would blow up. Jordan doing it, like it's that bigger name persona, and especially with, like Howard said, Draymond's the instigator. That's his role, that's his job. So I think that's why this thing.
He gets clicks.
Oh yeah, his podcast is pretty funny too. He's good, except for when it's during the NBA Finals, and I just don't appreciate that one that much.
I can all agree though. Don't punch people in the face for those watching at home.
But everyone listening,
please
don't get into fights over anything. It's stupid. You could be like a Devontae Adams right now getting served a misdemeanor assault charge for pushing a cameraman that, granted, that looked horrible. That was a bad look for Devontae after the game the other night, just shoving the kid out of the way.
That actually happened? He got a misdemeanor?
Yeah, it came out today. Literally a misdemeanor assault charge for pushing the kid. Because if you watch the video from like one angle, it looks like the kid just standing there and he pushes him. You watch from the other angle, the kid literally walks in front of him purposely. And it's after the game where the Raiders could have won. And he just, frustration, pushes the kid. I just think it's a pansy move on that kid's part of like, all right, I want to go get an assault charge and get my 15 minutes of fame. That's how it looks on how I perceive it.
No, it's 100% a money grab.
Yeah,
100%. Even Devontae Adams even apologized he apologized on Twitter. His post game, he was like, "Hey, I just really want to apologize to the guy I shoved out of the way. It was in the heat of the moment." And now you're trying to go ahead and just like give him a misdemeanor? Like, that's crazy. But also at the same time, whoever those NFL camera guys are, they gotta know. You gotta get the hell out of the players' way if they're trying to get the hell out of arena. He's leaving an away stadium. He's fired up because they just lost. No way you should be in anywhere near reaching point of them. Because at the end of the day, what he did was reactionary because he was just trying to get the hell out of there. So it's his fault, whoever this person is that got pushed down. Did he deserve to get pushed down? No. But at the same time, you should know better, especially if you're down on that field.
Yeah.
Half these stories you guys are walking through have been news to me. I've not been on Twitter these last few days. This has been a crazy week.
So I'm not gonna lie to you. Merritt, when he just mentioned it, I literally was like, I flipped through my Instagram story real quick, and it was Stephen A. talking about him getting charged for misdemeanor. That's the only reason
I thought you were joking. I thought you were legit joking. That's insane to me. It is, I guess, but the fact that it got to that point is.
Yeah, I think if it doesn't get to this point, I'll say it this way. Devontae did apologize, but it's a lackluster apology because didn't do it in person. You did it at the end of the game, during your press conference, and then on Twitter.
Hold on. But still.
No, listen up. It is a money grab. I'll always 100% agree with that. But it can be altered if you actually go and find the person that the altercation happened with. Like, if he went up to the kid and was like, look, I apologize, like had a face-to-face conversation, I think this goes differently.
That, and from a law degree standpoint, we took a sport law class.
Yeah.
You just admitted fault publicly. So if he has that lawyer, boom, he can get it because he's admitted guilt in the situation right there to the world. Like if it was behind a closed door, I have apologies, shake hands, done, to your point. But you literally just admitted to assaulting somebody on live television with millions of people watching. If he has a lawyer, he's like, hey, here's an opportunity that we could make some money. He just admitted that he was guilty in this situation to thousands of people. So,
and that sport law class is coming in handy tonight.
Wow.
I just remember Howard and I literally leaving the sports law class final because we had another final downtown together, like booking it to another final.
I remember I had that sport law class. Was that the one that was like at like 7 in the morning?
Yeah. And he didn't change the final date, the final time. He was like, it's at 7. I'm like, we have a final at 8. Downtown. How the hell are we gonna do this?
Those tests were tough too. They were true or false in a law class. So
oh my God, you're right.
What was it? Weren't they all true and false too?
Yep. Brutal. One word can throw you off.
I don't know how I passed that class.
It was because he gave attendance points for that.
That's true. And I showed up every class. I never missed one of those classes. So that saved my butt.
I needed that 10%.
Yeah.
It's different between a C and a B right there.
Literally, I do remember. I'm like, oh my God, just it was a once a week class.
Yeah.
It's like Tuesday mornings or something. It was a random day where there was no reason not to be there.
I will say I like that. The Coliseum, having classes at the Coliseum was cool because the Brew and Gold, I was a Towers guy. So I would always stop by Brew and Gold after those early classes, get one of those coffees and bagel sandwiches that they had. And it was just a nostalgia thing. I was riding off on a senior year strong with getting to Brew and Gold all over again. So I didn't hate it from that standpoint. So
I didn't mind it because there was some days where we had practice like right afterwards. So I was like, well, I'm here. I guess I'll go to practice now.
Good times of classes at the Coliseum.
Oh, good old days. All right, Kevin. Talk about the jersey. I'm just gonna look away.
My guy, Howard Ticker, rocking me Jets jerseys after their 40-17 win, squishing those fish from Miami. This jersey is a Le'Veon Bell jersey because I'll be honest, I don't have any current Jets jersey. I don't have any yet. Hopefully we'll get one. If there's anybody that I wanted, so I have a Sam Darnold jersey, and he's not there anymore. So
I could
get. I have a Geno Smith jersey. He was not there anymore. So Le'Veon is now, boxing. So if I could get another Jets jersey, Howard, if I'm going to get me a Jets jersey, who would you recommend?
I would do a legacy one. I wouldn't get like a current. I would do like a Revis for sure.
Okay.
That's probably my all-time favorite Jet. Curtis Martin, I don't think you can go wrong with.
I had one of those jerseys when I was a kid. I had a Martin jersey because he was one of my favorite Patriot players.
Yeah. I'm always in that because I've always thought about that, Kevin. Like if I wanted to get a Jets jersey, who would I get? 1 or 2 years later, they're gone, Jamal Adams was going to be that guy too. I was like, man, this dude's a stud. And now he's in Seattle. So I don't want to jinx it. I think the legacy is the move. You get a Revis, you get a Curtis Martin. You can rock those wherever, whenever you're going to get respect, that type of thing. So I think that's going to be my philosophy from here on out for any of my teams.
That's a great idea.
I like that idea.
So, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
'cause-
obviously, if Wilson's a guy, if both Wilsons are guys, or Hall or something like that, those are other names. Obviously, look out for Williams on the defensive side. But yeah, man, you can't go wrong with the Darrell Revis jersey. He's a monster. So
I'll be honest. Like growing up, my jersey I would have chosen Wayne Corbett.
he was a guy. He was
Yeah.
a stud.
Wayne Corbett, or if anything, just because just his name was just so damn long. If they sell a throwback of a Vinny Testaverde,
I was
or
gonna say I would take Testaverde for sure.
yeah, I would even think about Chad Pennington. Chad Pennington was solid when he was with the Jets.
Yeah, both of those guys were serviceable and good quarterbacks. They weren't great.
Yes.
They weren't going to get you like more than one playoff win, but they kept it very consistent across the board for that team.
Yeah, it's always great when I watch a Jets game and see how many different jerseys just like walk by. You'll see in one like slew, Brandon Marshall, Tim Tebow, Wayne Corbett, Vinny Testaverde. Then you have Darrell Revis, another Revis, a Geno Smith jersey. Then finally somebody, Sauce Gardner. So like literally all historical quarterbacks out here. And yeah, it's a good time. Merritt, enough about me. What does your hat say? It
Down,
says a wood duck.
yeah. So it is a minor league baseball team down in North Carolina. I got the hat 4 years ago. It's a little tight on my head right now. I don't because I have a little bit more hair than I did back then. But yeah, I thought it'd be a fun little hat to wear. A different logo, kind of fun. So
Nice.
and we got hockey on behind us. The Bruins are on. First game of the season.
There you go. Shout out to the hockey.
Yeah. The Bruins are winning 1-0 last I saw. So I'll take it.
Mhm.
We're gonna be hopefully not horrible. Kevin, do you have any new cards this week or no?
I do.
Ooh,
Have some fun ones. I like shout out to the store that I shop at, Santiago Sports.
did they buy any of your cards?
I haven't set that up yet. I'm still trying to fix them. So I have to sleeve them. I need to buy some top loaders. So Howard, FYI, I have been starting the card collection and trying to get into selling cards. So I recently found my old card collection that I had when I was younger in my basement. So I'm trying to spruce them up and see if I could either sell them or maybe grade some of them, see if they'll get more money from them. And that has been a segment on our show since I started doing this. So, couple cards I got. Troy Polamalu, you can't see it.
Nice.
Hall of Fame. 73 out of 75, Canton Cloth. This is my favorite card that I got recently. It's of Giannis with his. Oh, I can't even see it. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, put
Giannis
it right near
holding-
your face.
Yes, thank you. Giannis winning the NBA championship when they won a couple years ago in a little fun little photo. I also got me a Michael Jordan slab graded 9 out of 10. I think it's very familiar to the one that you have, Merritt, that I got you for your birthday.
Yeah,
Or
it's
super close.
Yeah, it's very close. I think it's like the alternating years.
Yes. And then just a LeBron card, because I think this is how I'm going to show the cards from now on, because now you guys can actually see them.
Yeah.
LeBron, just because his cards can eventually just go up in value as the years go on, and when he retires, then I can like maybe cash out possibly, but we'll see what happens. But that's what I got today for y'all.
Dude, collecting cards as a kid was awesome. I have so many
Oh my
at
God.
my parents' house still. They're like, now that I have my own house. They're like, that means you got a storage room, right? We can get this out of the basement. I'm like, no, I'm keeping those in there until one
I
day.
don't know where half of mine went. I'm pretty sure they're still at my parents' house somewhere.
If you can find them, and some of them are in decent condition, all my friends keep telling me, like, if you can get them graded, then that's when the money really starts. Like, especially if you're having cards of when those players played, like those ones apparently cost a lot more.
I have a bunch of hockey cards, like a bunch.
Yeah, baseball was mine, but I I have a couple of LeBron James rookie card. I used to collect like a crazy person as a kid, like especially around with my bar mitzvah money. That's what I did because my dad had a Nolan Ryan rookie card, and that thing's worth like $5,000 right now.
Wow.
He like refuses to give it to my brother and I because he knows the second he gives us, we're turning that thing around and selling it. So he's just holding on to it as long as he can. So he got me into collecting cards early as a kid. So yeah, I have like an Ichiro one that I think is probably worth something. A couple Mellows. Phillip Rivers rookie card might be like my best NFL one, which is not saying much, but that was a cool one I got one year. I'm like, hey, he's actually been pretty decent when I was like just skimming through him the other day. Have you ever met Ben Bridgman? Either of you guys? I used to hang out with him in college quite a bit, and then I usually stayed with him whenever I'd come into town in a Morgantown game. He built his own bar, and on the bar top, on the actual counter part of it, he put like old school basketball cards.
Oh, that's fire!
So like when we were just hanging at the bar pre-gaming to go out, we were like, it was just nostalgia of being like, oh, I forgot about that dude, or Paige Stoyakovich. We were just name dropping people from. Like,
oh my gosh!
I was like, that is such a cool added touch to your bar of just classic basketball cards hanging out on the underneath the glass. Like it was a really cool touch. So, shout out to him for that because that was a cool night. We ended up staying in, I think, the entire night, just looking at all the cards and just getting hammered, not going out. It was the night before like one of the football games. I can't remember which one, but
that sounds like a better night than going out. I won't lie. No.
I remember like it was like Yankee playoff game was on too. So definitely we're playing drinking games and had people over. So there's no need to go out. At that point it was only like 5-6 years ago. We didn't need to be hitting up High Street anymore at that point. So
when we were in Morgantown, because my brother-in-law has never been there, we were like walking around and I'm like, wow, I feel really old. I don't think I could ever do this again. Be great. I can do it.
I think for nostalgia pieces, I would try one more time, but then after that, I would be like, all right, we're good to retire. It's done. But
okay,
I will definitely say
Spage next year. I'll do that. I will not go to like whatever Bent Willie's is now or Joe Mama's and all that. I'm not doing that. I'll do Spage.
I feel like that's reasonable. That's definitely reasonable.
We get all the sport management people back together for one more rowdy night all together in Spage.
Oh my gosh. Madness. Absolutely madness. Absolute madness.
I'll die. My wife will kill me.
100%.
My wife
100%. No, she won't, because she would probably be there with us.
Yeah, she'll probably still murder me.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, let's be honest with that one. She'll probably still kill me. Howard, are you still doing fantasy football?
Not really, no. I fell off. When we were like in college, of course, but technically we're not allowed to do it in terms of for money, at least. So like if you're not doing it to get money from your friends, you're not going to do it just for fun. So, but still follow it. I mean, I know who's good and who's not, I guess.
Kevin, how'd you do this week?
So out of my teams, I won 2 of them. I lost one of them. Lost one of them by like 5 points. I literally, it came down to the last game because one team I had Pat Mahomes, so he was good. Another team, I needed Travis Kelce to win, to go crazy. He conveniently did with 4 touchdowns. Shout out to Travis Kelce. And then the one I lost, just bad luck on people not performing. Like I had, what's his name on the Jets? The running back, Michael Carter on the bench, got 17 points out of nowhere. And both of my running backs couldn't hit anywhere close to like double digits. So it was quite a struggle. And this is the first week of buys for me. And
oh shit, I have to pay attention. I have to set my lineups.
Yes. So you might want to take a look at your waiver wire because it's really unpromising right now. So yeah, it's been a crapshoot trying to figure out what to do because I have one league where I don't have any running backs. And then there's another league where both of my tight ends are injured. So it's a struggle city, but We're making 2.
Horrible.
What about you, sir?
Ha! I'm
You
not
lost
sorry.
all 3 of yours.
Yeah,
I felt that. I felt the
Yeah.
presence. It's okay. We can move on.
sorry. The one game, like I literally lost by like not even a point in one, another one by 12, and another one by 30. And the one I lost by 30, Travis Kelce was my tight end and went off and made it look more respectable than what it should have been. So yeah,
Gotta love it. Gotta love
Yeah.
it.
horrible. God awful this year. I'm 2-3 in all my leagues. It's
Ooh.
so bad. Oh, I play my wife this week.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm projected to lose. I will edit my lineup.
Oh
Shut up.
my gosh.
You're
I'm
not
sorry.
Derrick Henry's on bye. That's why. Hold on. I just got to edit this. Oh, Montgomery's in. All right, we're good. There we go. Now I'll project to win.
Amazing.
Just with that one move, I'm projected to win by 8 points. I'm not going to help her set her lineup. I can't because I'll lose somehow.
Oh, I love it.
Oh my
I love
God. It's ridiculous. I can't even buy wins this season. I'm done. Just going to cash it all in and say write it off. All right, let's go to the fun part. Howard's here. He's probably bored of us talking about fantasy football and half the other stuff. So we'll just dive all in. Okay, Howard, we sent you questions. We'll probably read like 3 of them and we'll probably get off topic. Like you've noticed, it's kind of what we do. We don't stay on topic at all. But I want to start us off with, we all had Doc as a professor. We've all shared stories about Doc. Kevin and I have shared numerous stories about Doc. We all had the privilege, I would say this is a privilege, to speak to Doc's classes in the past year or so. Give us your favorite Doc story from when you were in school, though.
I just love how he would pop into a class, rile us up over God knows what, and then at the end of the class, just be like, hey, reminder that paper's due next week. And we've never even talked about a paper. And then the other one, I would say, and I don't know if he watches, so I don't know if you guys can edit this out, but
Oh, no.
He does not watch.
Okay.
Does not watch. It's
He
all
gave
good.
me like a 65 one time on like an essay, and he's like, rewrite these things. And I just resubmitted it. I didn't do a single change, and I got a 90. So that dude didn't read shit. Like,
Dude, that happened, and I can't use his name. He was a football player that was in one of our classes. I walked up with him one day. Doc gives us back our papers. I had like a 90, and he had I think Doc didn't even give him a grade. He said incomplete, like redo all, blah blah blah. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how's this even possible? Like, you wrote a full paper. He's like, I don't get this. The next week, we hand papers back in. The following week, give them back. He has a 93. I have a 95. I'm like, did you redo any of yours? He goes, no, I didn't. Just gave him the same paper. I'm like, I redid the title and just made it look nicer, because that's all he told me to do. He gave us like better grades. Like, what the heck?
I'll say this though about him, in terms of like preparation for the real world, like he probably was the best professor that got us ready, just with like unrealistic timelines for like major projects. Just like he learned us to get our ish together before certain things and quickly. And public speaking, I think he did a good job of exposing us to and whatnot. So respect to him. Dr. Lee was probably my favorite professor, but we definitely, in terms of readiness for the real world, Doc definitely, I think, did a really, really good job in that regard. So
yeah, for sure. I think like everybody knows, because I think I'll never forget like my like maybe first or second year there. Like I had people that like had Doc, and they're like, I don't just understand like how he expects us to do this. It's like, let me just tell you this. Yes, you are currently going through it right now. Totally get it. He told you that you have a 12-page paper due at 9 p.m. at night, and it is currently 1 a.m. But remember, it's not just do what you're supposed to do, and you will thank him later.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, just figure it out. Hell, don't even submit it. Figure it out. and you'll do what you got to do. I'll never forget. There was like one paper, I think I literally, because it was so late and I was like not trying to get myself worked up about it. He wanted a 5-page paper. I gave him 2.5 with extended like margins and everything to make it as long as possible. We never ever got those papers back.
I remember
Where did
that.
those papers go? So as long as I handed something in, I was good. But at the same time, you know, I just like to say Doc was Doc.
Yeah.
And people can say what they want about him, but at the end of the day, let's look at it. Look at us now, 10 plus years later. He got us more ready than anybody else ever would.
Yeah.
Yep.
Doc was one of those professors that did not mince words, did not make you, he did not want to make you feel good about anything you did. He made you feel like, hey, guess what? This was crap. Do it better. And it, like you both said, it prepared us for what the real world would be. It's not like, oh, good job. You did really good today. No, he was like, this is crap. Go fix it. Even if you didn't do much to fix it, even if it was just you put a period somewhere else or altered the sentence some way, that was fine in his mind. Like you, because you went and did the work to show, all right, I listened. I took what you told me to do. I love Doc though. I think Doc was my favorite professor because of what you said, Howard. He would get us riled up. And it would be like over the most asinine things, but they were real topics when we were in college, like pay student athletes, pay this, do that, whatever it was. And it was actual conversation. It wasn't like sit in class, be bored. We did have plenty of those classes with Doc though too. But like majority of them were actual conversations. And then, yeah, you have a paper due. What paper are we talking about? I'm not doing a paper. I don't think I handed in 95% of the papers he ever talked about. Like, be straightforward.
Well, here's a great question because you just brought it up. What was the most memorable thing you got riled up about with him in class? Because you just made me try to think. I'm trying to remember what topic did we get riled up the most about? I know.
All I remember is just shouting matches in class. To be honest, the context or the what the topics were, I couldn't even tell you. I really genuinely cannot think of it at the top of my head. I was trying to think about them when I saw the list of questions, because that was the first thing I just thought. I just remember walking away out of a class being like, what did we just do for 55 minutes? And now we have to type a 10-page paper. This is garbage. Like, this is trash. And it's due in 2 days. But I couldn't even tell you what the topics were. I probably was just scrolling through Twitter the entire time too. But,
I just remember leaving class one day and the three of us were in the same class and all of us walking out just livid. And everyone leaving that class, never wanting to go back to a Doc's class. And all of us showed up 2 days later for the next class, but like all still heated. And that whatever the discussion was in that class carried over to the next one. And it just went. And I think some students, I didn't care, kept going because we knew if we kept getting Doc to talk, those papers, those assignments never happened. That was the biggest thing with Doc. You got him going.
That's fair. We straight up didn't read. I stopped buying his textbooks that he was recommending for that exam. We wouldn't even go over half the stuff that we were supposed to go over because it would be just papers and presentations and
you could find all this stuff online.
Yeah. We just stopped going over all these chapters that were in the syllabus.
I never read one of those books.
I don't know if you guys remember. There was one class that I don't know if all of us were in it. Howard, I think you were in it. I just remember we had to go from one room and walk the second floor to another room that we had Doc 2 classes in a row. And all of us were just like, we left that one class. We're like, no, I'm not. Some people were like, no, I'm not going. I'm not going to that class. I'm not going. I can't. I'm not going. Forget. And then like we were just standing in the hallways while like other classes were going on, and like it's of us just debating on if we wanted to walk across the hall to go to the class because we were already like so angry at him. And
I wasn't in the second class. I was in the first class, but I was not in the second one. I had something else.
well, I just remember that class of being like, everyone was just like, oh my God. And we have to go through sit with him in another class. And then people would just be like, I'm not going, I can't deal with this BS, blah, 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 blah. And I just remember I'm like, all right, well, I guess we're just gonna sit in this class again and like figure this life out. But shout out to Doc out here.
Gotta respect them. But we may have hated his guts at some point during college for whatever reason. But I can honestly say I still text that man a few times a year.
Yeah, our roommate Ian, he used to always just hear me and Justin complaining about him. He'd be like so excited for 4 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays to come back to me and Justin just complaining about whatever the heck went on. He'd be like cooking dinner. He'd be like, "What did Dr. Jones do today to you guys?" And we're just like, "Oh, don't get us started."
And then it's 4 hours of ranting and drinking and yelling about him. Yep. All been there. It's always been fun. All right, Kevin, you can take the next one.
Sure, absolutely, Mayor. So Howard, let's just go ahead and right to it. I'm usually the one that stays to the script as Merritt, starts to dive up the course. But first
whoa.
how did you get into ticket sales and how did you come to Maryland?
That is first off, that is a lie. You go off script all the time.
That's a lie. No, I do not go off script. Sorry, Howard. Go ahead. You can answer the question.
Oh, we can keep having this conversation. That was fun.
I'm finding a new co-host.
I mean, you guys were all in the same classes that I was. Every single time we had like a guest speaker, they were like, if you want to work in sports, the easiest way to get in the industry is sales, right? And none of us were going, I don't know, we're going to work in marketing. We'll go from there. That did not work. I applied to 1,000 jobs, everything in marketing, events, didn't get a single interview, started just taking the sales thing seriously. Funny story, I applied to the job at Maryland on my 20th. I was just speaking to the Sport Business Society on Maryland the other night, said this exact story. I applied to this job on my 21st birthday at West Virginia. I said, I'm not going out to bars to celebrate until I apply to 21 jobs tonight.
Good for you, bro. That's awesome.
And I got it done by like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I still had fun that day. Don't get me wrong. But I applied to the job and it was in January. I didn't get a call back until like April for this position. It was from Neil Hoffman, who's now over with the 76ers and the Flyers, overseeing all their premium.
I remember him. I remember him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good dude. Really good dude. I still keep in contact with him regularly. He was actually just at the Maryland game this past weekend. But he gave me a call, interviewed me. I already had a job lined up post-college doing camps. I ran camps throughout the summer, was a camp counselor through high school and college and whatnot. And it lined up perfectly in like August or July or whatever, where I got to be an entry-level, sales rep, smile and dial, 80 to 100 calls a day, put as many butts in seats as possible. And
Charlie.
Yeah. And it was tough at first. I actually sucked. I was not good. It took some, I was definitely a good culture fit for the staff in terms of, positivity, cheering people on, volunteering, like working cherry blossom festivals on a Saturday where you're standing behind a table and no one wants to talk to you, that type of thing. And eventually it just clicked. I just started seeing the fruit of my labors by just people just calling back and buying tickets and whatnot. And the rest is history after that. Just kind of been a string of promotions ever since. So that was my start, my only real job out of college. And it's just been turned into 5-6 promotions over the years. And now overseeing the Maryland operation and 7 other schools for Aspire as well. So it's been a wild ride. That's for sure.
That's awesome, dude. Congratulations for that. I did ticket sales. I was at ASU in Texas when both those schools were under Aspire leadership. And I'll agree, it's a grind. It is not easy. I tell people, anytime they ask me about sports, like you have a sport management degree. Yeah, I work now in recruiting, very, very different lifestyle, but I will attribute all my success to those early grinds of working random festivals. Like I remember working the Tempe Art Fest. There was no reason to have ticket sales at this art fest, but we're there. I remember working that. I remember all these other events. I dressed up as Sparky one time for opening a baseball, like a little league baseball tournament, like stadium, which was the coolest. I think that would be the highlight. And besides hosting the Pac-12 championship game, but like, those those grinds and stuff were probably the reason I'm successful now. Years later.
And then when it got to the point where they started inviting you to your tailgates, they were sending you gifts around the holidays. It was all repeat business, and you're seeing them at games. You're like, dang, this is actually kind of cool. Like, we're pretty lucky to be able to do this. It could be a lot worse. So, but yeah, it's been awesome. It's been cool to see like how much Maryland's grown in the last 10 years as well, from in other sports, and obviously in the Big Ten now, everything like that. So it's been crazy. 3 or 4 different football coaches, 2 basketball coaches, 2 ADs. It's been a wild ride. So
I think my favorite thing from what I've seen you post is like, it was years ago. It was like a men's basketball game. It was like a shell shock or whatever, something. It was like a blackout game. And I saw it and I was like, that's really cool. Like, that's dope to see.
Dude, Maryland basketball games are nuts. And I grew up a diehard Terps fan, going to basketball games in Colt Fieldhouse during like the Duke Maryland days, Duke UNC, or the UNC Maryland games, the Juan Dixons versus the Jay Williams. Like, those
Juan Dixon's so good.
Yeah. Juan Dixon was my guy. He was my favorite player, like, as a kid. And when he went to the Wizards, I'm a Knicks fan, but when he went to the Wizards, like, it was the most like amazing thing for Wizards fans. They thought that was like the coolest thing, that the guy from down the streets now they're gonna play for the Wizards. But that place is rocking. We had game day it was actually the game before the world kind of shut down. It was like a March 5th game. We had college game day come senior night against Michigan State, I want to say it was. That place was nuts. Like, that place was absolutely packed. People were lining up the day before. So hopefully football will get to that point. Obviously football is moving in the right direction, but we had Penn State on a night game a couple years ago when we started 3-0, and like, it was a Friday night game. We saw people like starting tailgating at 6 o'clock. And we're like, this is what I remember as a kid, going to football games when we were going to ACC championships and stuff like that. Cause they had some squads too. Lamont Jordan was the running back in the day. Obviously Torrey Smith, Darius Hayward-Bay, some guys that had some pretty good years in the NFL. Maryland used to have a very proud football program. So hopefully
they're getting there.
Right direction right now.
So Howard, I got to ask this question because I did it when I worked at Texas. Being a West Virginia grad, do you bring that up when you were younger? Did that spark conversation with the Maryland people you were trying to sell tickets to?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That was my IMI. My go-to IMI is that I grew up a diehard Terps fan. I'm the only one in my family that didn't go to Maryland. And then I went to West Virginia. I think I even threw some shade at West Virginia. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I wasn't smart enough to get into Maryland, so I went to West Virginia.
I 100% did. I went when I worked at Texas, and my season ticket holders like found out I went to WU. They're like, "What? How's it feel to wear burnt out orange?" And my always would be like, "I do it, but my soul slightly dies every time." And they loved it. And my manager did not like those lines. I'm like, but my season ticket holders all are coming back and they're all upgrading their seats and they all love me. So it's okay. I still have some of them that talk to me, like text me. Like, my favorite guy in the world is Scott Wilson. I don't know what this man does for a job, but he is a diehard Longhorns fan and has not missed, besides COVID, has never missed an athletic event at Texas. He goes to every baseball game, home or away. goes to every football game, home or away. He's at every swim meet, I've heard stories. He's done a basketball game, baseball game, softball game, and some other type of sporting event all in a 1 day period. And he's like 70 something years old.
Damn.
I've tailgated with him. He's at a baseball game. Zach Fox, who I think we all know.
Great dude.
Awesome dude.
Love that guy.
Yeah. Another sport management alum out there.
He was down in Austin for the game, and he knew Scott because Scott had gone up the year before and is one of the most inviting human beings in the world. And we're all sitting around drinking moonshine. And Scott's like, I love that West Virginia moonshine. I'm going, my season ticket holder's getting drunk with me. I can't be here. I just can't. Like, this is not good.
Oh, man.
But I
I love it. Howard, I got a question for you. Since you've already kind of answered some of the other questions
going off
that
script.
we already put.
Going off
script.
script.
Yeah, because Howard is smart and he answered questions that you already wrote already. So we can fill the time. I'm getting creative out here. So Howard, apologies from my co-host yelling at me. But I want to know.
Season 2 is off to a great start.
Oh, it's off to a huge start. By the end of season 2, there's going to be a new co-host, and I'm going to be booted off.
Or I'll be booted off somehow. I don't know.
My goodness. But as I keep getting interrupted, thank you, Merritt. But Howard, you talked about like the changes that Maryland has been having since you've been there, since you graduated school. I wanted to know, can you give me your top 5 Maryland basketball players since you've been there, and your top 5 football players that you enjoyed watching when you were there?
It's tough.
So since I've worked there, so not as a fan growing up.
Yeah, as you worked there,
Cool. Eric Ayala and Anthony Cowan are 2 recent ones. Both 4-year guys. Seeing their growth and how much Maryland meant to them and everything like that from a basketball perspective. Love those guys. Des Wells and Melo Trimble were awesome. Bruno Fernando as well. I'm definitely going to leave someone out. I feel like I fired those off so quick. But Bruno, he's still in the league. He actually just got a nice little contract extension. He was just like fired up the fan base, slant, like his dunks, threw it down with authority, blocked so many shots. So for hoops, those are probably the quick 5. I'm probably forgetting 1 or 2, but I'll definitely go with those because they just came up the quickest. Stephon Diggs, his freshman year at Maryland was nuts. DJ Moore as well, obviously. I just saw a stat the other day about DJ Moore. Like, he's had more production in his like first 4 years. He's up there with like Larry Fitzgerald, Randy Moss, and a couple other guys. I know Carolina's stunk. We've been talking about them. They've had a tough go at it, but he's just been putting up numbers. So more Diggs for sure. Ty Johnson, not to throw out a jet, but he was was electrifying. He was one of those guys, like, you could tell it from a kick returner perspective that he was taking it to the house all the time. So he was very exciting to watch. Savage, who's now with the Packers, they're starting safety. That dude was incredible. And JC Jackson as well from Maryland was pretty good as a lockdown. I think he's on the Chargers now.
Throw salt in the wound here. Thank you.
I was a big fan of that. When he won, he got paid. That helps from talking points for my sales team. But 2, he left the Patriots, which is an added bonus for me. So
hey, you know what? It's okay. He didn't play the first 2 weeks because he had late ankle surgery, and somehow, some way, my New England Patriots find damn good cornerbacks in the draft.
That's definitely a position. If you have a premium guy, like, obviously that's awesome. But like, if you have a good defensive coach, like, you can make an incredible corner. Like, you can develop corners, like, especially if you have 4 or 5 solid ones. That's you can do the money ball approach and do rotations and whatnot. I feel like it's definitely a premium if you have an elite dude, but you really, I don't think necessarily. If you got I'd rather have a stacked room than one guy and you're paying $1 bajillion to, and then have 2 scrubs that are playing the other side of the ball. So
yeah, I'll agree with that. I love this new kid, Jack Jones at the Patriots. Scott, the past 2 weeks, 2 interceptions, and has just been a shutdown. So I'll take it.
Yeah.
And Jace, and what? I don't remember that. I don't even remember half the Patriot players this time around. That just, it's hard to watch. Hard to watch these years.
The dynasty is crumbling.
That crumbled a while ago. It's okay. You got to rebuild. You got to rebuild somewhere and start over, right? Everyone does it. All of our teams have been, all of our teams have been there. Kevin and I are dealing with it right now. I just think
the Jets are a couple years away from being a couple years away from being a couple years away for the last 15 years. So it's been tough. It's been tough.
I'll be intrigued to see what the Jets can do. To be completely honest with you, Howard, I didn't think they'd be this good. I didn't think they'd have a winning record. But I also still don't believe that Wilson is the answer for that team.
This isn't sustainable. I'm not fully sold on him either, but I also don't think it's sustainable much longer. We don't have the depth to be able to keep this up at this point. God forbid, knock on wood, I hope no one gets injured, but we are 1 or 2 injuries away from being completely out of it because we just don't have the depth that some of these elite teams have. But I've already seen enough progress to be all in on Coach Saleh.
I love him.
We're going to have cap space next year. We can clearly draft. We've had back-to-back rock star classes. So we're moving in the right. And what free agent wouldn't want to come to New York with all that young talent, and be one of those pieces? So
I can give you one, Tyreek Hill, because he came out and said, he goes, I had to make an adult decision, taxes or no taxes.
That's fair.
I'm okay with that.
That 30-minute span where I thought we were getting Tyreek Hill was electrifying, and then I saw it, and I was just like, man, of course.
And then you were like everyone else in the AFC East going, I gotta play against him twice a year. Oh boy.
Gotta find someone to throw it to him. That's all I'm gonna say.
That is very true.
That's true. Yeah, well, they don't have a quarterback right now, but I'm pretty sure Tua's not playing. I don't think this week either.
And then
Diggs is questionable.
My gosh.
Because he didn't play last week against the Jets. And Teddy Bridgewater, I don't know if he's playing because he got a concussion.
Because he got knocked out the first play.
Yeah.
Our boy Sauce.
Yeah,
I mean, coming in trying to kill people.
Miami's gonna have to sign somebody off the damn street at this point,
or they can do what the Giants are doing: let their running backs play quarterback. It's
very true.
I won't lie, is the biggest surprise in this NFL season is the Giants record.
Dude, it's amazing what coaching could actually do because the roster is pretty much the same roster as last year.
There's no one new.
Yeah. And they're 4-1. I watched that London game with my buddy. He was over here for it. He's a big Giants fan. And yeah, man, they're legit. I mean, obviously Saquon staying healthy is a massive piece of it because he's a stud, like an absolute stud. But the O-line looks great. Jones isn't turning over the ball 19 times a game.
That defense looks good too.
Yep. Our boy Stills too. He's their number one.
Yeah, he's playing.
Except the one play I saw of him during the Sunday game, he dropped the ball and he was like wide open. And I was like, oh, that doesn't look good. But it's good to have.
But they've been playing him instead of like Kadarius Toney, who they're paying all his money to, or like Kenny Galladay. Like they're playing Stills instead.
And Sterling got hurt for the 4th year in a row. That man is at the point where he needs to retire. I love his rookie year was amazing because I have a good friend like you, Howard, that's a Giants fan. And we talk about it. And he's like, first year, we were literally sitting going, we got our young wide receiver core. All right. good. And then all of a sudden it just died. And then the wide receivers got scared of the end zone.
He was a stud at Oklahoma too. He was so good. I remember texting my friend when they got him. I was like, that guy's going to be a beast for you. And he got so hyped. And it's just been, to your point, 4 years of different injury after different injury.
Yep, sadly. And then Galladay not even knowing what to play. The best thing I've ever seen in my life is even Matthew Stafford made him look great. And then he fleeced everybody.
That happens sometimes. Like Trumaine Johnson on the Jets, Galladay is one, Albert Hainsworth on the football team years ago, or the Commanders, or whatever you want to call them.
Any
You
team
just
that
get paid, you just go away. You just, like I said earlier, you give me $850,000, I'm gone forever. You give somebody $79 million guaranteed, I'm not. Your work ethic's got to go down. Some people I feel like just take the money and run. I mean, I don't blame them either. That's life-changing money overnight that you can get. So
a great example for anyone that loves football is Malcolm Butler with the Patriots. Super Bowl winning cornerback, had a great year the following year. And then he's like, I want money. And Belichick's like, there's the door. Bye. And he just fell off. So
I don't blame anyone though.
no, hell no. I take the money and run. Let's be honest.
I mean, you work all your life for it. You finally get a payday. Like at that point, you also have to get paid for like your past, because you don't get paid nearly as much, as what you're worth. If you do deserve that contract for your first 4 years. So that side of the coin too. That's why I always hate about like those contract extensions. Like when teams be so greedy about it. I was like, just pay the man. Like Aaron Judge on the Yankees, pay the man.
Yes.
Like the dude earned it.
Oh,
like,
he's not. I don't think he's coming back to the Yankees.
He's not. I don't think so either.
I
think he might go to the Mets.
No. So I've heard the two top contenders, and this will hurt both of you, are my Red Sox, which God, I hope they don't do, and the Giants.
I think he goes to the Giants. That's what I was going to say. Where I think he's going to go.
Both very hitter-friendly parks. He's also at the point of his career where, no offense to him, he did a great thing of staying in college and getting a great education, but it was very detrimental to his long-term career in the ML.
30. He's 30. He's only been in the league for 5 years. So, and yeah, he went to Fresno State, and I think he grew up in Cali, so that would make sense. And to your point of, if you're worried about injuries and whatnot, I'd much rather be playing in warm weather year round than.
And you can he'll go anywhere and become a DH.
Oh yeah, NL has that as you can be a DH now in the NL, right?
Yeah, they changed that rule. This was the first year I think they had the DH in the NL.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. Shout out to the DH rule. I would just love to be a player that just hits and not have to play the field. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Or be a pitcher and only work every 5 days.
Good point.
That would be great. All right. So like Kevin said, Howard's answered all of our questions through like everything. I want to get your thoughts, not on football, but on this upcoming basketball season, because they have their Midnight Madness, I think, is this Friday.
Yeah, the gold blue game is this Friday.
Yeah. So Howard, thoughts on our basketball team?
Sounds like we're legit, right? I mean, going back to what Kevin and I were saying about press conferences, I watched Duggan's press conference. It sounds like we got some dudes. And I know, like, from a Maryland perspective, I was following like our transfer rankings, and West Virginia on every single list that Maryland was on, West Virginia was like top 3 on like transfer portal acquisition. So I think we're going to be pretty good, but yeah. I couldn't name 3 players. I'll be honest, but everything
like
I hear,
literally,
we're
I think there's 9 new players on the team.
Yeah,
which is like unprecedented. So it's definitely going to be interesting for our basketball team. I'm excited to see, according to Huggins, they actually make their shots, which is cool. And then
Wait, a
yeah,
basketball team at West Virginia makes shots?
apparently they actually make their shots. That is a quote from a Huggins press conference.
Question: do they hit free throws?
Well, I'm assuming shots is included in that. So
I don't know. It's two different things technically in a basketball game.
Yeah, but like I'm Howard, I'm sure when you've watched them, you can kind of just feel the energy is different with who the players are. I think one of the things he kept talking about is that he don't have to worry about not seeing guys in the gym. The guys that are there, they're in the gym working out. Because I listened to the final forecast that like Kevin Jones and John Flowers are run, and they brought up the example last year that like, I hear the basketball dribbling and I'm thinking it's one of my guys. I look down and it's Kevin Jones in the gym and none of my guys. And then, I hear some music going off again. I look down, it's one of the guys that came home from overseas and none of my players are in the gym. So the fact that these players are actually in the gym is already a good sign. I think the projection rankings, they have us like in like 6th or 7th in the Big 12, but we all know those rankings honestly don't mean anything until we start seeing these people play. So,
and let's be honest, in the Big 12, besides Baylor and Kansas, of course, who else is there? It's completely wide open. In Kansas, let's be honest, they're always a loss away from falling apart.
yeah.
And their classes haven't been nearly as good as they used to be for their recruiting and their transfer portals like we have. Plus, Huggy's coming off of a Hall of Fame induction. I would love to just see him ride that as long as he can and bring that team somewhere.
And he's had 2 disaster seasons since he's been here, and every year he's turning it around quickly too. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that will be all right. Also, a lot of the guys he recruited, a lot of that team last year, like, I feel like he does a pretty good job of getting culture guys for his program. You couldn't actually recruit people during COVID. You couldn't meet them. You couldn't get face to face. You were doing these types of things where you can't get a read on someone. You know what I mean? So he probably was like, screw this. I'm not talking to a kid on a laptop. Like, I'm just one people, you know what I mean? Like, so there was definitely some misses, it sounds like, from a culture standpoint of guys that he got. So
he brought back Emmett. From what I've heard is he loves he loves them. So
I was fired up about that one. I remember seeing that one.
I remember when that happened, and Kevin and I were like, okay, this will be good. I'm excited to have him back, as long as he's not the Emmett that left. As long as he's actually like able to hit his shots and hit. And it sounds like from what I've read and from what I've seen is he's gotten more mature. I hope that's what we get. As long as we have that, we'll be good.
Whenever,
yeah, I mean, it's his final year, so hopefully he comes back more mature and handles it. Go ahead, Howard. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, for the inevitable, that, and I don't know when this is going to happen, whenever he decides to hang him up and retire, who do you guys want?
It's a hell of a
Take
question,
over.
Because obviously people have been saying Missoula for years. He's now going to be an NBA guy forever. Like, whether it's Boston or somewhere else, he's going to get an NBA job. So he's out of the picture. Darius Nichols is someone I like. He coached under he was at Florida for a while as an assistant. Obviously, he was a Huggins guy. He was a Beeline guy. And he's the head coach at Radford now, which is a pretty decent mid-major program.
Yeah, they're a good team.
And he's a West Virginia guy. Like, he's played there. So he would check a box if we wanted to go the alumni route. But I have no idea. I don't know enough about like up and coming coaches to be able to pinpoint.
I know, like
That's
that's a
hard.
great name that I was thinking as well was him. I don't know. Is there if there's anybody young on the staff like right now that's there? One person that I was thinking, you know, he's like a video coordinator for the Knicks, but if he ever wanted to come back to coach, I mean,
Deshaun.
Deshaun
Ooh,
would be interesting.
That would be an interesting one.
that's my
Because-
favorite West Virginia basketball player ever. I'm all in on that.
100%.
Let's do that.
I think I don't see Huggins tossing in the towel anytime soon. So I would 100% be on board with Deshaun coming back and being our head coach, as long as he got some more of that experience on the Knicks. And I think he will. I think he will 100% move up in that Thibodeau tree.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, Thibodeau's guys have been being plucked left and right. It's been crazy. We got Woodson went to Indiana, Payne went to Louisville. So he's gonna have a job. And then he's now got Kevin, who's on his staff these days? It's Johnny Bryant still, I think.
Oh my
And then
gosh.
he's got Brunson's dad.
Yeah, Rick Brunson is on there, which is crazy because I remember watching him play for the Knicks.
Yep.
Oh man, there's two more guys that are like solid guys that they've been assistants everywhere they've been, but Thibodeau, he's making them.
I was bummed about Payne leaving because he was Calipari's guy forever. And then he was rumored to be the head coach in waiting. I know he just said that's a dumb idea, but he was kind of waiting for Thibodeau to hand it off to him in 4 or 5 years. But then Louisville, his alma mater, came calling. And
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
When your alma mater calls you and offers you a head coaching job, unless you're Joe Mazzulla, who most likely will probably be the head coach of the Boston Celtics for not just this year, but years to come. After this whole thing that has come
I
out.
hate the Celtics, but I'm rooting for him to be successful. That'd be so cool. Just got one for him, but obviously to get West Virginia just needs as much positive pub in the pros as possible. It's only going to help.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree. The only downside to like all the stuff that came out with the Celtics with Ime and all that, literally every news reporter was like, so this one time Joe Mazzulla got arrested like years ago and was suspended from the team. I'm like, that was how many years ago? He's a married man with 2 kids and has been with the Celtics organization for like 4 years. Shut up. Who cares? It's so far in his past. Like, he's learned his lesson. And from what all these players talk about, they all love him. They legit love this guy. So I'll take it. I'm ready to see what he does.
Our funny Joe Mazzulla story. Kevin, were you camping out for game day freshman year when we had Louisville?
Yes.
So Joe Mazzulla, who was not playing that year, was in a sling, was just running around interacting with people on game day at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God, I remember that.
We're all boozing and tense, having a good time. And I just remember like getting super excited because obviously the Elite Eight run the year before that. So he was already a legend on campus. And I like tap him on his back, but I like miss his back and just hit his elbow and it's sling.
Oh my God.
Luckily it didn't hurt him. He just looked at me and was like, dude, what? And he just like started yelling at me. I'm like, oh no, I just pissed off Joe Mazzulla. I just like,
You're like, he's going to kill me. Oh no.
he's not going to be back for March Madness and it's all my fault. Like,
Oh no.
That was a good time. I forgot about the infamous. That was the first time college game day ever came to Morgantown. Was that basketball Louisville game? Ooh, legendary.
heartbreaker of a game too.
Heartbreaker of a game because that is a long time waiting and to come home to a loss.
I think we lost by 1 as well. It was
close.
Yeah, it was like a 1 or 2
not
point
fun.
game.
It was senior night. Alex Ruoff.
Yes. Speaking of Ruoff, that would be, you mentioned about coaches' names. That could be a name if he decides, because I know he's a grad assistant right now.
Oh,
Yeah, he just came back as the grad
Yeah.
assistant.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Nice. I didn't know that actually.
Because he just what? He
He
just
was
hung
a
up.
beast.
He just hung up his shoes. This is his
Yeah,
first
he's
year.
he retired first year out, not playing pro ball.
Yeah.
He was so good his senior year. Like he had a very solid senior year, and then he laid an egg on senior night, which stinks. But
Yeah,
I
he laid
remember
it.
he was
It was rough.
crying coming. I remember just seeing him bawling his eyes out after that game because he scored 1 point that game. Like he laid an egg. Like all you needed to do was put one ball in the hoop, and we win that game. That's it. That
Yeah,
was
because I remember that was a big time. Like Kevin Jones coming out party was around during that time because he started to get a lot more playing time. Banks and like because Missoula was out, they had Truck playing,
truck.
and
Yeah,
like he was like growing up just being the starting point guard because Missoula was out. So
that was a squad. Wellington Smith, Deshaun Butler, Ruoff, and then the three freshmen: Ebanks, Truck, and KJ.
so amazing.
Probably one of
Such
the
good
nicest
times.
basketball players I've ever met in my life is KJ.
Yes,
Easily.
Kevin Jones.
One of the nicest, even one of the nicest human beings I've ever met.
Gotta love it.
Well, cool. I think we've been doing this for almost 2 hours. Oh God, this is gonna be another long one, Kevin.
How long do y'all shows usually go? I've been looking at a few of them, and they're like hour and a half. Is this a long
Yeah,
one?
hour and a half is usually the trend. If like we don't go off the rails, we're usually like an hour and a half type of podcast. So like
For as long as the
we're a
producer's
snackable
not on and
podcast.
we just don't keep rambling.
Yeah. But you did miss something because I'd love to go over this with
Okay.
Howard Ticker.
Go
Howard,
ahead.
so we know you're a Jets fan. I know you're a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
You're a Yankee fan. Who else are your other teams?
Rangers. That's it, right?
Yes. Is it Rangers?
Yep. I mean, got respect. WNBA. What is
Liberty.
it? Yeah.
There you go. Nice.
And then actually, when it comes to soccer, I'll claim DC United just because I was actually a big soccer player growing up, and our coach took us to those games. So I guess that's my only really true DC allegiance.
Okay.
Well, so, but I'm not a big soccer guy. I
Give a shout out to Freddie Adu there.
Yeah.
I played against his brother. Fun
Really?
fact. He's from Maryland. Yeah, his brother was not good. But yeah,
Well-
Freddie Adu used to always hang out with the Five Guys by us in the Kentlands growing up as a kid. So, little fun fact. But yeah, his brother, like people, was much bigger than Freddie, but he was not good. Not good at all.
Talk about a kid who went to a league way too early. God,
Yeah. What is he doing? I wonder what Freddie Adu's doing nowadays.
I don't know.
Yeah, Five Guys still.
Probably.
Oh man.
I think
Madness.
I know Freddie Adu went and played. I think he went overseas for a long time and played overseas for years. But
Remember that was such a big deal when he got drafted.
Oh, my-
Yeah.
Thought he was going to save the sport, American soccer, all that, and then it lasted 2 years, full on 2 years. So
yeah, I remember my buddy in like middle school was like so ecstatic when he saw that, and he was like, "That's what I'm trying to do." And I'm like, "Evan, you're this big and this big. I don't know if that'll work for you." Like, and he was a phenomenal soccer player for years. So, but cool. Kevin, is that your last question?
That is the last question. That's all I got.
All
Sorry,
right.
Mary.
I'm just asking. Okay. I'm trying to make sure, because you're telling me that you want to stay to script. So I'm just making sure.
I know. I forgot.
Oh boy. All right. Well, Kevin, did we miss anything? Any final notes?
Nope. That was my last question that
Okay.
I had.
Well, perfect. Well, Kevin, get us out of here.
Yes. So outro time. First off, before we go, we like to give our friends their flowers. So Howard, shout out to you. You've been crushing it for years. at University of Maryland. Go Terps. Still crushing it. We want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for season 2 and episode 1 of Manly Musings. We appreciate you, fellow WVU alum. We support you. You're the best out here. Thank you so much. If there's anything that you'd like to shout out or any social media you want people to follow, please go ahead and share now.
No, I mean, I appreciate you guys having me. It was awesome catching up with you guys here a couple months ago at the Backyard Brawl, and keep crushing it, doing what y'all are doing as well. It's been cool following this as well. So keep chugging away, and yeah, man, we'll keep supporting you guys as well. It was good catching up. We gotta do this
for
again
sure.
more
Yeah,
often.
so for those that are watching us on the YouTube, you can go ahead and watch us on YouTube at our channel, the Manly Musings Podcast. Feel free to listen to us. We are available on Apple Podcasts. We're available on Spotify. We're
Google.
available on Google Play, and we are now apparently available on Amazon. So if you have Amazon, feel free to listen to us there.
We are not on Pandora.
Go ahead.
One more thing, I've always wanted to say this: like and subscribe. Can we say that too?
Yes, please.
Let's go.
Like and subscribe
Yes.
to the channel. Andrew, if you can hear us, maybe you put up a little blurb, little thing that says to like and subscribe, like how all those other pages do. Shout out to producer Andrew. If you want to
I
follow
made this
Merritt
kid do
on
more
his,
stuff.
yes, I know he's gonna kill us. Follow Merritt on his Instagram at Merritt_P. Follow me at KQuava624. Follow the podcast Instagram at the Manly Musings Pod. And take care. See y'all next week.